My name's John Di Maria. I'm the Executive Director of Stakeholder Alliances here in Alice Springs. Those of you that haven't met Adam Coward, Adam Coward's the Executive Director of Marketing for Tourism NT, down from Darwin today as well. I think most of you will know Adam as well. Look, I just thought I'd quickly touch on the fact that we've obviously had a change of government and Labor is now in government. And for those of you that aren't aware, we are now called the Department of Tourism and Culture. We share our portfolio with a few other departments, with Parks NT, Arts and Museums, Sport and Rec. We've also now got major events within that department, and we've also got the Darwin Waterfront Corporation that sits in that department. Heading up is the one CEO, who is Alistair Shields. He may try and he's in Alice today. He's going to try and stick his head in and say hello today if he can. And we've also got our Minister, Minister Moss, who's in Alice today and will be attending the TCA Awards tomorrow night for those of you that are going to the TCA Awards. So if you get a chance to say hello, introduce yourself to those guys, and vice versa, they will try their best to say hello to as many of you as they can whilst they're here. The presentation, you'll notice there's some cameras floating around here. It will be filmed today. The only thing that won't be filmed today is the interactive workshops that we're doing with all the flip charts that you see around you. The rest of it will be filmed today for a couple of reasons. One is for you guys to go back at a later stage to jump on and review and revisit some of the presentations that were done today. And I think it's an important tool for you guys to go and do that again at some point. But also, we've had a massive response and people that wanting to attend. We've had to cap these sessions. And in Darwin today, we've got almost about 70, 80 people. In Darwin, we've got over 150 people attending these sessions, and we've had to say no to a couple. And there are opportunities to sit back and watch that at a later stage. So hence the reason we're filming today's session, but certainly feel free to go and look at that. And we've got all your contact details. We'll let you know when that's uploaded. The agenda today, just sort of quickly show you a quick snapshot of what that is. I'm not going to read through that, but basically we've got a lot of information to share today, so we really want to try and stick to our agenda as best we can today. The worksheets that you see on your screen, and we're going to go through these in a bit more detail later, but what we've also got on your table is basically something that as you go through the sessions today and you've got your own little ideas, please jot them down your own little box as a take home for yourself as to what you can do and some ideas for yourself today. So at the end of the session, when you're home this afternoon or tomorrow and you're sitting in front of your computer again, please look at some of those ideas and those quick fixes and jump on and start implementing some of the bits that you learned today. I think it's really important that you try and do that as well today. That'll be fantastic. The future, it's an interesting one because the future's obviously, we don't know it. We don't have a crystal ball, and if we did, I think we'd all be millionaires. But I think there's a few things that we want to highlight, things that can help us move forward in the future. And those of you that have been following us on our website and follow our newsletters, you'll notice that we've been switching on Wi-Fi solutions across the Northern Territory. There's about 25 free Wi-Fi hotspots across the NT that we've switched on with the help of some NT government money, and it's about $1 million over 2 years. At the moment, with all the connectivity that we're delivering in all the regions, we get on average about 17,000 unique users logging in every month. Now that for us is a real opportunity as to how we connect with people, how we talk to them, but also how they connect in a social or media sense, and how they continue to promote the NT whilst they're here. So that'll keep growing over time, and that connectivity hopefully over time, especially some of the remote areas, will get stronger and better when we can start to improve that NBN satellite connection. We've also used devices such as Blix. We had 67 of those devices across the NT that track people's movements. There's apps around at the moment that track people via GPS. For us, what it does is actually give us real-time data on where people are moving and what they're doing and behavioural habits, and we use that data then to make decisions around how we promote and market. So Big Brother is watching. I think we've been watching for a little while, and I don't think Big Brother's going to stop watching. It's really, for us, it's really important information. It helps us persuade people and influence people on what they do. And it certainly tells us what people aren't doing, which is just as important as well. Solutions around apps, websites, they exist, they'll keep growing. Apps I don't think are going anywhere anytime soon. The touch points, for us, it's really important that we continue to identify and talk about touch points, especially on ground, and in future-wise how we influence that touch point and value add that touch point. And that can be whether when people land at the airport, or they jump into a taxi, or they're at a hotel. And there's some real opportunities in how we communicate and talk to people in that space as well. Why the digital leap? Just a little bit of history for those of you that have been around for a few years will remember that we had the digital marketing grants. We spent $470,000+ with 131 operators in the sort of 2013-2014 financial year. We then progressed that in the 14-15 financial year with digital content and video grants. Again, that was about $160,000 worth with 115 operators taking advantage of that. Where are we going today and in the future? We've got an allocation of $500,000 to take this digital leap. It sounds like a lot. It kind of is a lot, but when we're spreading across a few hundred operators across the NT, it'll probably dissipate fairly quickly. But what we want to do with these sessions today and tomorrow is get information from you guys to understand where we invest that $500,000 to make a difference to your business and make a difference to tourism. What you'll see with this spread, it's obviously from 2013, we've got little lumps here of how, you know, our industry engagement and impact has affected with the investment that we've done. What we want to do with the Digital Leap program is really spread that across all areas. So the entire industry at some point through the program is getting benefit from it, and the industry moves forward in combination to ensure that, you know, as Tourism NT and in partnership with the tourism industry actually benefits quite broadly from it. So more impact, more operators engaging, and that, you know, I guess sustainability of using of that new technology, which is really important. There's already lots of support programs out there, and I think it's really important that I quickly touch on these today, just so you're aware of them. As much as we're going to deliver a $500,000 solution, there are other solutions that already exist out there, and we've got a few of the representatives from these businesses here today. We've got the Business Enterprise Centre, grant from the Business Enterprise Centres here today, and basically what Business Enterprise Centre will start to do is deliver specific workshops, and I'm not going to read through them, I'm not going to run through them today, Grant, sorry, I'm not going to give you too much of a plug, mate. But what I'm going to do is, you know, make yourself known to Grant if you can today. Otherwise, jump on the Beck website and register for the newsletters, and you'll keep in contact with those guys to understand what type of workshops that they can deliver to you, as long as your business is under 20 staff. Or touch base with Grant for other options, and it's really important that you have a really good understanding of what Beck can do for you. And Beck's, you know, used to exist here in Alice Springs. It kind of dissipated a bit, but it's back in, and it's had some good federal funding to deliver some of these solutions, which is fantastic. We've also had, through Oz Industry, Deloitte's have been funded a program through Developing the North to deliver, in particular for our export, the know-how for inbound tourism excellence. There's the KITE program, and I think for those of you that are considering exporting your product, these are fantastic workshops, and Nicole Mitchell's going to be here to deliver those workshops in Alice on the 8th of November and in Darwin on the 10th of November. So make note of those, but we'll also remind you through our newsletters about those. Tourism Tribe, who will be presenting here today, that's a fee for service solution as well, and that'll be talked a little bit more about Liz when she presents today, but that's certainly an excellent resource to tap into. If you don't know about it, Google it, and by the end of today you'll know about it anyway, so please feel free to write that down as a possible option. And of course we've got the old Department of Business, which is now Trade, Business and Innovation. They provide a plethora of grants and support in a business sense. If you're not using them, please do. Again, jump on their websites. There's some fantastic resources there for website, IT solutions, mentoring. Ross is here today as well from the department, so please feel free to pick his brain today if you can. But there's certainly already a great platform there of existing support. I'm going to hand over to Adam now. We're going to flick through some bits and pieces and pass it on to the speakers today. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John. So, yes, thanks, John. Well done. I'll get through this pretty quickly so we can get to our speakers. We've got a pretty short time frame today. I just want to talk about the digital leap, so important from a marketing point of view. How do we keep up the standard in a complex tourism world? You know, pre-arrival, we're spending about $30 million, $33 million odd dollars, plus operators in the room here are spending money on going out, trade missions, you name it. There's quite a few different things that are happening to try and talk to potential visitors to get them to turn up here. We spend around about $30 to $50 per visitor to get them to come to the NT, if you look at what our total visitorship is. So when you're thinking about your business, what's your cost per acquisition? What's your cost per visitor? And what are you spending it on? So from our point of view, there's lots of different things that we have to spend money on to try and make it all work. So from a Digital Leap perspective, we don't probably expect that we're going to get a program that we're going to spend $500,000 on to help pre-arrival. We've done a lot of research which highlights there's a huge opportunity at both, well, definitely pre-arrival, and we're hoping to hear some cool ideas anyway from people today, and we're going to always keep on pushing into that space. But the on-arrival space is a really interesting one. When you think about the collective spend in the room of people with advertising and what they spend their money on, I think there's at least $8 to $15 million being spent across the territory for people that don't even know your ads exist until they get here on ground. There's a lot of money being spent on ground. So whether it be TV, digital, print, press, the whole brochures, the whole lot, it's all in there. How does it all then link in to give operators their fair share of the market, or hopefully build incremental share? Is there an opportunity to get more visitors to do more things? And that's sort of what the opportunities that we've been reviewing for the last 12 months. This is where Digital Leap has really been formed from. So we've got a discussion paper, a marketing paper, which we'll put out after this, but I wanted to take you through the top 3 or 4 points, which understands all the research we've done in this space, and also what John mentioned, these Blix devices, which measured all the tracking and the flow between places, from as local as between the Royal Flying Doctors and the YHA. Hi Lindy, how you going? And all the way from Alice Springs all the way up to Darwin, we can see the flow between places. So that discussion paper will be made available to this group especially to have a look at, and definitely the people who are using the Blix devices. But what we did find from the research and the key points were, for example, up in Darwin, we saw 70% of people were not booking their activities or tourist experiences before they got there. And Alice Springs seemed to be a little bit higher in terms of people pre-booking before they got there. So that might give you some indication that you need to think about digital in a different way to try and get to the customer before they turn up to the door. And it depends what kind of business you are. If you're a food or a hospitality business, there's certainly an opportunity to get people once they're here, obviously. But also, how does that then link together? So a lot of the flow work that we did started to show, how do these things happen? How can we actually get people to spend more while they're actually here in destination? We've got them here for $30. How do we make them spend more? And you think about it, 800,000 visitors that we get across the territory, if we can convert an extra 20%, $100 per visitor, which isn't that much across a day or across 4 or 5 days, it's a $16 million, money being made there on behalf of operators, and it's up to you to try and get your fair share of that. So ultimately what we want to try and do is use Digital Leap to make that happen. How do we get that maximisation out of people? So whether the volume's up or the volume's down in terms of people coming through the doors, which is definitely part of my job, is to try and drive that volume into the place and get the right type of volume as well. But how can we make sure that it's maximised on ground, which is really the problem we need to solve, and it's a problem for most businesses around the world. So these touch points, we sort of found 5 key areas that we think we need to focus on, which again should give you some interesting points today to talk about. The first one was lack of awareness or motivation to buy. So we certainly saw people who were walking out of the territory not knowing that you could do certain things, like not knowing that the Alice Springs Desert Park even existed. Yet we market the hell out of the place, and you see it, it's on brochures, it's everywhere. But people just don't see it. They've got blinkers on, and that's just the way people work sometimes. In Darwin, it was Darwin Harbour Cruises. People weren't aware that Darwin Harbour Cruises existed. They just didn't even know it existed. They walked out the door not knowing that there were 6 operators operating on the Darwin Harbour who could have been making some revenue. And then people who did know that things existed, they had funny kind of reasons like, I was too tired, or it was too expensive, I didn't have enough time. They're not real reasons for people not coming to come and see your business. It's just they don't know the right thing to help them actually be motivated to do it. They come all this way, they're probably going to do it if they knew how good it was. So timed and limited time itineraries, what we found was people were tending to do things at certain times in the day and not through the other. And if you think about breakfast, lunch, dinner and sleep, there's a lot of time that's taken up just by those eating experiences or food experiences. And sometimes that's part of the tourism experience itself. Sometimes it's just a quick burger on the side of the road, which is also part of a tourism experience possibly. But how do we link things between the experiences that you have across the day? And how do we highlight to people that this doesn't take 3 hours to go and do it. It only takes an hour, only takes half an hour. Like there's making sure people are aware of the time it takes to do things, gives them the chance to actually do what they are here for. Easy access was a really interesting one. Things that were in close proximity, as you'd expect, had a lot more propensity to be visited than things that were outside of that kind of cluster. We certainly saw it in Darwin, and we did see it to a certain degree here in Alice Springs as well. And it comes down to what sort of transport you have, if you're on foot, if you're on a bike, all things start to change depending on how you're getting around. And then how do you talk to people to try and get them to understand that you might be a bit further away, and here's how you get there, or here's how you make it work. Connecting the dots with trails, and there's a bit of work on this already been done, but yeah, we sort of saw people being missed out on trails. So it was like, why would you not go there? And we certainly saw it up and down with Discovery Parks and the Aviation Heritage Museum, where they're right next to each other, but people weren't visiting both. So it was a really interesting kind of experience, and even people on the military trails, and obviously art trails down here are a big one. There's all different ways we can connect the dots for people. So again, how do we get A, B, C, D and E to be visited, not just A, C and E? And after hours opportunities became a really apparent one, especially in Alice Springs, is that we saw people kind of shutting down post sunset, basically. And it depends on what kind of business you were. We were lucky enough to go to the Earth Sanctuary last night, a great after hours experience, picked up from your door, taken out, fantastic, spend some money, come back. What happens after that? How do you keep people going beyond the hours of what they think they can do? And I think Alice Springs has got opportunities to do that for sure. Obviously Uluru and Central Australia in general. So they were the kind of the 6 things. And when we kind of break out in the document, there's probably about 40 or 50 different ideas we just put out there as a discussion point. And we'll work closely with the RTOs, and obviously Digital Leap will give us a heap of input on how we kind of activate some of these ideas. But the key ones we saw coming out as themes were increased relevance. Relevance is like the biggest thing we can possibly do now, and digital is the way you can definitely do it. And even with smart media buying and smart contextual media buying through print and radio and other things like that, you can become really relevant to people, therefore they'll want to buy you. So of course you can target by interest or search. So for example, we've got a Malaysian Airlines ad there on one of our videos about bird watching in Kakadu. There's lots of videos that we have. We've got hundreds and thousands of videos that we've got online. How do we start to open up some of these opportunities for operators to put your ads on things that are interesting about bird watching? So you can show off your business and then start to highlight how you guys get connected to it. Target by context. Red Centre Nats 2016. Who was on there, on that hashtag from here, actually looking at what was coming through there and then ambushing or helping those customers to find out what your business can offer for someone who's here posting on Red Centre Nats 2016. 124 posts, 124 customers. How many people picked up those customers and worked with them? I've heard stories of people up in Cairns who all they do is just basically sit on the hashtag Cairns, and then they put out deals to people saying last two seats to go to the reef today. And they're just killing it. They've just got a team looking at nothing but social media and looking at hashtags to pick up what's going on out there and offering deals and opportunities through the hashtag kind of approach. And people are buying it. Darwin, early morning, what to do. And I know TripAdvisor's got a few different ones for Alice Springs, but these forums are out there. People are asking questions for what to do because they're getting in at 4 a.m. in the morning or they're getting in at certain times of the night. And we're not giving them information. So already from a tourism and tea point of view, I can see that we can help, but from an operator point of view, there's plenty of people asking for your help. How do you find the time? How does it work? That's what Digital Leap's all about. How can we make this easier for people to get involved and connect with customers? You can now certainly target by location down to a 1 mile radius and sometimes even closer using different technology from Google, who are here today, and definitely Facebook as well, where you can actually talk to people in a very specific location. We use it now, for example, on the East Coast to talk to backpackers who are sitting in their YHA or wherever it might be, to actually talk to them about what's on offer, or there's a sale fair on right now, jump across and come and see us. And the targeting by transport type. If you know you're in a caravan camper and you put an ad on the Brits camper van hire place while they're waiting for their turn to go and book their van, there's all different ways you can now put an ad in that spot to show off what you've got around it, because if you've got a car, you can go to many more places. So you can start to open up that access and opportunity. And from a bike point of view, for example, plenty of bike tourism going on both in the top and centre. It's a very different itinerary for someone with a bike than it is someone who's walking or someone who's driving or someone who's in a tour. So again, how do we become more relevant rather than just a set and forget brochure? Examples of collaboration and complementary promotion. So, for example, northernterritory.com, is the newly launched website, and we've got heaps of work to go on it because we've only just really cut over from the old site to the new site. But what we can do now is create collaborational sort of spaces, and I know the RTOs can do it as well, to put products together, which otherwise you may not think of as a customer. So, it's quite easy for us to put a little editorial listing here, which kind of shows different things that you might be able to do. If we're going into Alice Springs, for example, it's a very visual medium now. We can play videos, we can do a lot more. So your content can start to bubble up. We want to open up these opportunities a lot more. So if you're in this space here, there's some highlights that we've just chosen for today. You can see them on a map. We can put things together or create a specific kind of itinerary around art trails around Alice Springs, which then gives you a pretty good view of all the different art, a lot of different art places that are around on a map as well. And we can expand those out and let people book more. Plus getting around to the different places in the territory. So again, the technology is allowing us to actually show off more of what's available in your product, and we want to get it up and out there, whereas in the past we've probably been more just destination focused rather than experience focused. So how we group experiences together is really, really important. Combo passes and tourism gift cards, you only just need to go overseas to see other people who are doing it really well. Singapore does a great job with Sentosa, a day play pass, a noon play pass. Talking to Stephen from Tourism Central Australia, how do we get together to actually create these combo passes that can be booked through the RTO or wherever it might be to allow yourself to get access to more things? Those are just some ideas. It's already happening, some collective advertising where you have the Alice Springs Central Art Trail. I mean, with Facebook, you can do some great carousel ads where you might be able to show off an itinerary, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 4 different businesses on one ad through Facebook targeted to the right spot. It might be a new way to think about doing brochures rather than having 6 brochures all lined up differently in one spot, which doesn't necessarily talk to the right type of customer. Working with the cafes and different hospitality businesses around town to show, the menu, which goes in this little menu holder, but what's happening around the business today, what's open today. At certain times of the year, certain things are open, certain things aren't. How do we show off what's available today? What's the event on today? That kind of stuff to help people do more and go to more places and get that flow happening. Because if they sit in their hotel room or just sit in one spot and don't do anything, we can't get that flow, we can't get that business to work. And time and access. Looking at brochuring differently. Do we brochure by 5 hours, 2 hours, and under 1 hour? Do we do things differently to give them a go? We're certainly wanting to try and help that happen, and grouping experiences through different ways rather than the classic brochure approach. From a remote point of view, for people who aren't quite as close to places where they can easily stock brochures, using digital, using our Wi-Fi touch points, creating these great scannable brochure touch points where you can actually scan a brochure rather than actually take one. And that way you don't have to even restock it, and it's going to be digital, so it can be up to date at any point in the time. Using video a lot more, we're seeing, these are only about $2 or $3, these little video brochures here. There's all different ways you can think about using digital to kind of service the need to make people understand what your business is all about and do a better job to sell it. And obviously things like this are really interesting around flat rate tourism zones for taxis or pay-as-you-go car hire. Right now I can only book a car for the whole day. If I only want it for an hour, it's impossible. If I can't get a bike or I don't want to go on a bike because I have to go a lot further, it's too hot or whatever it might be, how do I get that car for the day? What are the new ideas we need to think about and invest into or look at doing, which are going to open up the access, especially in a place like Alice Springs where driving is a really crucial part to getting to see more and doing more. So the 3 goals from our perspective really out of Digital Leap at a marketing point of view is to get that relevance up, to get away from the set and forget type of approach and using digital to do that, and also digital printing in other ways. It's not excluding non-digital channels. To be more complementary, I suppose, and work out, that should be an E, not free complementary, not to be as free, to be together, to be complementary and work out how we do collaborate, because what we do find is that the more gravity we can make together, the more the customer sees the value in it, and passing from one to the other rather than just, I've done my job servicing this customer, where to next? How can we get them to go to the next place? And then targeted, using the digital media, which you can do now, and you'll hear it from all the different speakers today, which we'll invite up sort of shortly, to actually get your message to the right person at the right time and get rid of that wastage. Because if you don't have any more money, you need to work out how you save the money, and it comes out of being less wasting in the way you produce things or you target things. So using the digital media to get to the right customer and then find more ways to get to more customers without the wastage. So that's the 3 goals that we have off the back of the, I suppose, putting into the industry the Digital Leap.